Welcome to our webinar, Taking Control of Social for a More Secure Workspace. Today I'm going to walk you through IDC's view on security and compliance in the social media environment and a short discussion with a member of Microsoft's privacy team. To begin, let's consider the following. Social media, now ubiquitous, is supporting an improved customer experience in reaching customers on social. Welcome to our webinar, Taking Control of Social for a More Secure Workspace. Today I'm going to walk you through IDC's view on security and compliance in the social media environment and a short discussion with a member of Microsoft's privacy team. To begin, let's consider the following. Social media, now ubiquitous, is supporting an improved customer experience in reaching customers on social and messaging applications they want to use. The familiarity with the social tools is driving the adoption of enterprise social platforms that expedite workflows and ideation by facilitating better cross-functional communications and collaboration. Social media marketing platform vendors are evolving, many fine-tuning their features, opportunities and messaging, often rebranding as customer experience platforms. This also opened doors for the smaller vendors to fill new gaps. Messaging applications, often supporting more privacy, are now rivaling the use of traditional social networks. Chatbots using artificial intelligence are on a fast track and will challenge businesses and consumers alike, but will allow social and chat to scale, no doubt with some early glitches. And finally, social commerce, the ability to buy in the chat stream of social platforms, are gaining traction. As this rise of technology continues, we are also seeing some negative impact as news of a significant data breach at Facebook hit the press. To be frank, this was less of a breach in the traditional sense, but a process that allowed the company called Cambridge Analytica to grab all the information that they needed. The data was simply not made safe. At the other end of the scale, we're also seeing an increase in legislation around the privacy of personally identifiable information. At the forefront is the European Union General Data Protection Regulation, a ruling from the EU around the personally identifiable information of European residents and citizens, which has global ramifications and also has the potential to impact businesses operating in Asia and Europe, which comes with a potential fine of 50 million euros or 4% of global revenues. Also, across Asia Pacific, there are a number of notable changes to legislation, such as the Australian Mandatory Breach Notification Bill and Singapore's Cybersecurity Bill, whilst markets such as the Philippines, Indonesia and Thailand are looking to upgrade their own legislation in the near future. Regardless of the legislation, the time to create a policy around social media use from a security and compliance perspective is upon us. So, from an IDC standpoint, social media usage has redefined our communities and the way people interact with each other and with companies. Online customer experience not only drives buying decisions, but when shared in social media, creates opinions and influences that can be positive, negative, or blended and affect the decisions of thousands of people very quickly. Today, everyone has an audience and some level of influence. However, very few CISOs or CIOs are considering the compliance requirements of social. Let's understand why. The market for social platforms is large and growing. We have here a snapshot of what IDC thinks about when we discuss social media from our Market Perspective report on social media. At the top of the slide are the platforms we are all familiar with and use. Below that, we have tools that enterprise use to gain economic value from these platforms. Since most are used for some form of marketing, and it is marketing that ensures these platforms are free to use. I won't go into depth for the rest of the slide, but as you see the management and engagement tools that are available here, you can begin to see an entire ecosystem that has been built up to support the business of social media based on business functions. However, today we will only be focusing on the impact of using the top layer, the social media platforms such as Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Social messaging platforms like Skype, Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, WeChat and Line. Enterprise social networks such as Microsoft, IBM, Salesforce, Google, and enterprise messaging and collaborative tools like Yammer, Slack, Skype, and Jabber. So around this environment, IDC has created a number of predictions, which we define as IDC Futurescape, Worldwide Social and Experiential Solutions. Again, I won't go through these predictions in depth today, but I'll leave them in the deck for you to read at your leisure after the webinar. What I wanted to highlight from the predictions were from Predictions 1 and Prediction 8. Prediction 1 introduces us to the fact that 80% of the global population is familiar with and will have used a social channel. This scale of coverage is something that has never been seen before, and it's clearly massively driving the interest of marketeers. Prediction 8 states that 70% of businesses will have a targeted marketing program that leverages social media, and here we start to see the tip of the potential problem. Most users of social media did not think about the fact that the platforms they use to connect are marketing tools when they signed up. From a user perspective, Facebook is used for communicating with friends and family. LinkedIn is the personal business connection tool. This was the situation when individuals signed up, but today, as we have heard on the news, Facebook is a tool that is used not only by marketing professionals, but has also been used to influence elections, and the data kept within these environments is not, perhaps, as secure as many end users might have thought, which in turn gives enterprises deep cause for concern. Consider the leading global platforms we use on a regular basis. What do we now need to consider in terms of compliance? The main user identities we think of here from an enterprise perspective are marketing and HR professionals. Marketing uses most of these platforms to promote the business one way or another, be it in direct marketing programs targeting consumers, brand awareness programs, or corporate communication roles. Whilst LinkedIn has now become the de facto tool for HR professionals online, it too is also a tool used by marketing and other business persona to promote the business. With the legislative changes we are seeing taking place, CEOs, boards, and data privacy professionals need to consider what data is posted to these sites, what information is shared across the various social media platforms, and what, if any, is a potential risk to the business of doing so. Whilst many organizations realize the importance of social within the business context, very few have created clear guidelines around the usage that take data privacy or compliance into consideration. This approach will leave legislators with no doubt that, should you fall foul of the law, you deserve the full force of the punitive damages. Ignorance of a law has never been a defendable position. But at the same time, legislators realize that this is a challenging and constantly shifting environment. Even if you do cross the line, if you have set guidelines in place that are well understood across the organization, this will improve your standing in the eyes of legislators and hopefully lessen the impact of any punitive damages. So don't live in denial. Take a positive approach. Define the platforms, their potential use cases, and business units most likely to need to access them. Understand the security and compliance models and philosophy of the target platforms in order to make an informed decision on the platform's data management risk rating. Work with the business unit leads to identify the data management challenges and risks and ensure the business owns both the issue and the solution. Provide organization-wide guidance on findings and risk ratings. And don't forget to help the business units define the escalation process in the event of a legislative or compliance breach. In some cases, providing explicit guidance is as much as can be done. But if the organizations understand the tools in the market, something that GDPR expects you to do, and a simple template like the one shown here is made available across the organization, it is at least one step closer to a more mature approach to using social media in a more secure and reliable manner. Whilst this is about as basic as you can get, at the same time it can provide the baseline for compliance with the law, as well as a foundation for future policies, by establishing this simple guide to help social media users understand which type of tools should be used when. As the slide states, an example could be as follows. External brand communication tools requiring only authorized content publishers include Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, and email. External communication tools that may be used by individuals for communications with customers and partners include Kaizala, Skype, Teams, Line, Yammer, and email. Preferred internal communication tools such as Teams, Skype, Yammer, and email. So, as a guide to what IDC believes should be considered around social media, we recommend the following. First, reevaluate your social media tools to meet your needs. The days of the simple engagement are long gone. Platforms can now facilitate ad development, scheduling, bot conversations, artificial intelligence at every level, improve sentiment, real-time translation, visual monitoring and analytics. They are all part of the new social marketing stack that now incorporates customer relationship management and web analytics, as well as email, built around individual customers and their companies. Augmented reality and virtual reality will be a part of marketing and support solutions, for starters, and have already been announced on the roadmap of key vendors. Prepare to make the case for more marketing technology spend as the abilities of technology scales up and become more powerful. Drive towards cross-silo adoption of customer experience. Who owns the customer experience? Everyone does. That's why for years telephones were on everyone's desks. As phones blended into interfaces and mobile social media became the new telephone, workflows can enable everyone to help become aware of and resolve issues faster than ever. This requires cross-training of the new power of social, including when to engage and when not to engage. Understand the legislative environment within which you operate and define a contact and data management strategy that complies with the current and potential future legislation. Consider EU GDPR as a gold standard that all countries and organisations should aspire to, eventually. Consider that if you are compliant with GDPR, you are probably compliant with most legislation across the globe. Realise that not all platforms are built, run or managed the same. Take the time to consider the stated compliant levels of the business behind the platforms and incorporate this into your risk management process. Whilst this is no guarantee that your users will use these tools in the manner they were designed, at least by working with the vendors that manage them and providing guidance on what tools should be used and for what purpose and by whom, the business risk can be minimized in the future. So now that you've heard from IDC, let's hear from Frédéric Blanchy. In the manner they were designed, at least by working with the vendors that manage them and providing guidance on what tools should be used and for what purpose and by whom, the business risk can be minimized in the future, which is a much better position than many are in today. So now that you've heard from IDC, let's hear from Frédéric Blanchy, Microsoft's Privacy Manager for APAC, Australia and India. Frédéric, welcome to the webinar. Tell us a little bit about what you do at Microsoft.
So I'm a privacy professional at Microsoft. It's been 4 years now. I support the APAC, Australia and India subsidiaries, and I'll try to make sure that my sales and marketing colleagues are compliant with any privacy obligations and ensuring they connect with our customers in a compliant way.
So what does privacy mean to Microsoft?
So privacy means a lot to Microsoft. First of all, we recognize it as a human right? But we are very and deeply committed to privacy. We take it seriously and we are very aware of any risk also pertaining to it. You know, we live in a world where our customers are more and more knowledgeable about their privacy rights. On the other side, we have regulators. You know, they tend to launch comprehensive regulations that are stricter and stricter, and also that enforce a lot their regulations. Like, you know, you've heard about GDPR. Mm-hmm. The fine can be up to 4%, so that's a big deal for Microsoft. Yeah. So knowing that, it's all about trust. Mm-hmm. If we can engage with our customers and make sure that they trust the way we will be handling their customer information, their personal information, then it's a big win for us. And it's critical to our growth. It's critical to our engagement with them. And you know, we can fail. We can, you know, impact our reputation overnight. We never can take our solid program for granted and the trust of our customer for granted. And so we are here to protect customer or partners' information, but also of our employees. Mm-hmm. And we need to provide transparency and control. That's really key guiding principles for us when we talk about data privacy.
Okay. So tell me a little bit more about the programs you have in place to secure the workplace, not just for Microsoft employees, but for customers. And when did this start?
Sure. So Simon, our journey to privacy has started a long time ago. Actually, back in 2000, we have started to build our foundation of our privacy program. And in 2002, actually, Bill Gates created the Trustworthy Computing Initiative. So that was a key milestone for us at Microsoft. To have a strong and solid privacy program and to have that culture of compliance internally. Having a strong privacy program is key, as I said, on one hand for the culture of the company, but also to the eyes of the regulators. If tomorrow regulators comes and knock at our door, we need to demonstrate that we are not ignoring the law. And so this is a key pillar for us to in that privacy journey. Now, how can we describe our privacy program at Microsoft? As you know, Microsoft is a huge organization, very complex. And so the best it could be described is as a hybrid model that we call hub and spoke. Basically, it's a combination of central accountabilities, but also decentralized accountabilities. We have the central corporate program, which is represented by our CPO, Chief Privacy Officer, and his team that sits under the corporate legal department. So basically they are in charge of setting the baseline of our privacy program. Privacy policy, standards, implementation, awareness activities, training. On the other side, we have what we call the spokes. So the spokes are a decentralized team where the privacy function is delivered and delegated to our business groups. In other words, each organization or group have their own dedicated privacy program. Sales and marketing, by the way, is the business groups that handle the greatest volume of personal information. Mm-hmm. So it's a huge source of risk. And so that's why I personally cover sales and marketing. Now, for the spokes, their responsibility includes many things. As I said, we assess and evaluate the risk for each group that we support. We need to understand their processes, their tools, their activities. So we drive compliance of all of that. We also build a privacy program that needs to be monitored. The monitoring of the privacy program is key as people do what they are measured on. So that privacy program cannot be effective if we don't have relevant metrics. So we put in place metrics, we monitor the program, we do also training and awareness activity, and with the objective of driving accountability. Just a note on the additional note on this privacy program. Before recently, to be honest, it was a lot driven by GDPR. The team were composed of several people wearing different hats. Now Microsoft has really decided to have full-time resources that would be the subject matter expert on the privacy. They would be the only one having the authority to conduct privacy review, privacy impact assessment, etc. So that's very good. The other requirement for this team to work is to have a strong leadership team support. The buy-in from our leaders in our organization is key to have a culture of compliance and accountability. Is key also to eventually have more resources to enable the privacy program, and also as an escalation point. So that's for the other side of the spoke model.
Microsoft is a large organization with employees across the globe. So how does the team keep the rest of the organization compliant to the privacy requirements?
Yeah, so besides having that hub and spoke governance model, training is key. Training is foundational, instrumental in educating, informing all stakeholders handling in the privacy journey or that are involved in handling personal, partners, or employees' data. We need to inform them about policies. We need to inform them about our standards. We need to inform them about what they risk if they fail and what are the impacts. To work with Microsoft in a non-compliant way. The targeted recipients are obviously employees, which includes full-time resources, but also contingent staff. We target our partners ecosystem and suppliers. Working with third parties, sharing data with them is a huge source of risk. So we have stringent requirement and enforcement to work with our suppliers and partners, and they should be aware of that. So we deliver that through training and awareness. They need to comply and abide by our privacy policy, otherwise we can't work together. And last but not least, obviously, we also have a dedicated training curriculum. Microsoft dictate what skills they want to run those privacy programs, and in turn, we, privacy managers in the field, we deliver those ad hoc training or regular training to our employees.
And I think you made a great point there that a lot of organizations forget. It's not just about employees, it's not just about customers, but it's partners and the supply chain ecosystem as well. Great. You did mention a little bit about legislation. We mentioned GDPR. Can you expand a little bit more on what Microsoft does to stay compliant?
Sure. We need to have a framework when we approach regulations. Microsoft operates nearly in every country of the world. We wear also different hats. We are a large employer. We provide service and software. We also offer goods to our consumer. So with all the different regulations, with all the different code of conduct or industry standards, we need to drive consistency and efficiency within the company and across the globe. So we have a framework that is meant to help us be compliant with any regulation. So when it comes to GDPR, we first need to ensure we have an understanding of our risk. So we need to assess the risk and the compliance level. The assessment is twofold. First, we need to understand our external factors, risk like regulation, fines, any industry standards, etc. But also we need to understand the state of our compliance. So we need to run privacy impact assessment of our own organization to know where we sit, where we are, and where we want to go, depending on the external factors. We use several tools, as I said, the privacy impact assessment, data inventory, we use privacy reviews, etc. But it's a massive exercise that we are running. It's a huge MS-wide, company-wide effort, and relative to GDPR, it's been almost 2 years that we've been working on this compliance journey.
Sure.
It's massive, but it's a prerequisite if we want to build confidence in our program and efficiency and agility when new regulations comes up. So that's the first pillar of our privacy framework. The second pillar is protecting our data. Security is not privacy, but it's a huge enabler. So it means Microsoft is investing a lot in security. We invest about $1 billion per year. We invest in built-in capabilities, intelligent capabilities, and I'm sure we'll sooner or later invest in blockchain as well to help us. But we need to be up to date and keep up the pace with all criminal innovations. Our cyber crimes and cyber threats are very innovative, and so that's something we can never be relaxed on. And last but not least, the last component of our privacy framework in our GDPR compliance journey is streamlining our processes. Our organization keeps evolving, driven by the regulation, but we need to ensure that our processes and the way we work together are the most efficient. In the privacy world, one instrument that we use a lot is privacy by design and automation. Privacy by design means in the way we operate, in our workflow, we include privacy controls by design so that it's seamless to our collaborators, to our marketers, to our team, and it automates also the privacy control and privacy review process. We want to be agile in the company. If we want to go to market and talk to our customer quickly, we need to have privacy by design and automation. We need also to have a better collaboration between teams, between the engineering team, between the legal team, between the privacy teams. We cannot work in silo, and so we should put in place new processes to enable that smooth collaboration. Our partners and suppliers need also to be involved in that streamlining of processes. So we have standardized all of our contracts, and they know that this is the requirement, this is what they need to attest, to adhere, and so that privacy framework for us is a good structure to attack and to approach any regulation compliant. So I can confidently say that we are ready, and it's a learning process as well. I guess regulators will and may adapt the regulation scope today, but we are more or less confident on what it is right now and what we should do and where we should go. So
that's great. I think you clearly understand the process around GDPR. I mean, you've identified it as a gold standard, but the legislation also says you've got to stay abreast of the latest technology trends, which in many cases it sounds like you're driving anyway.
Yeah,
right.
It's true. And just to close, this regulation is a lot driven by our technology innovation.
Right.
New usage scenarios such as artificial intelligence, big data, blockchain. This brings a need to regulate more. And Microsoft, to achieve their mission, to achieve our mission to empower every person on the planet to do more, we cannot drive innovation if we don't drive trust as well.
True.
So to close this, really it's a fundamental topic for us, and we will make sure we are always on top of it.
Well, it's great to hear. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Simon. I appreciate this conversation.